Hello everyone and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon solo video. Today we'll be using the Master Chef Ryoshu for our run. Being a Season 1 identity, she can end up feeling somewhat lacking, especially in regards to supporting status effects, which, let's be honest, despite the fact she's technically a bleed identity, she really isn't. Her main purpose is actually to serve as healing support, as whenever she kills an enemy, she heals the character with the lowest HP. This heals a minimum of 15 HP, but technically can also heal a near limitless amount of health as it's buffed by her unique status effect of Appetite, and that status effect has no cap to it. The only real problem I'd say she has is that this healing only affects the character with the lowest HP, not lowest current HP. It does not make any checks to determine whether or not any character has lost HP and instead simply compares the actual number of their health. So for example, if you have two characters, one with a max of 200 HP and the other with 100, and the one with 200 HP loses 10 health, Chef Ryoshu's healing will always go to the 100 HP character simply because they have the lower number. This honestly pretty major oversight is enough for her healing to be unreliable, but coupled with the fact that she also needs to be the character to deliver the finishing blow, makes it nearly impossible for her to actually get any good value out of her healing. It's still decent, don't get me wrong, but bad enough to warrant never actually using her for the only real thing that makes her stand out. In reality, her actual niche is as the single best support passive for any Mirror Dungeon solo run. Her support passive functions nearly identical to her regular passive, just without the Appetite buff and the need for a specific identity to deliver the killing blow. And when you're only using a single character, the previously mentioned flaw of healing a character who doesn't need it is no longer an issue. She can heal upwards of 90 health every single fight, which is half the entire health pool of most identities, making her ridiculously efficient in keeping you alive for as long as possible. And if for whatever reason she happens to be your favorite identity and you want to use her in the team anyways, her actual damage output isn't half bad considering her skill 3 has very good damage buff conditionals. Anyway, to start the run off, we take these starter buffs and find these ego gifts on the first floor of To Be Cleaved before making it to the boss against the Fey Lantern. This is a super easy boss thanks in large part to its slash fatality. Because of it, we can genuinely beat the entire thing without taking any damage at all. We take Coffee and Cranes and Tomorrow's Fortune for our reward, while also receiving Eclipse of Scarlet Moths as a bonus before heading into Hell's Chicken for the next floor. Here we don't find anything of note before making it to the boss against Papa Bongi. Seeing as Chef Ryoshu was the identity released alongside this fight, it's not surprising that we have a really good matchup into it. All of the chickens are fatal to slash damage, and the Papa himself isn't particularly difficult for us to cut up either. It really isn't that hard to cook chicken, so it makes sense that this would be an easy fight.
No, mat.
방금의 공부, 혹신 그 자체였다.
저희도 가서 도와줄까요, 돌심형이?
무슨 맛일까?
타당한 의견이시.
피는 확실히 비지.
전투 감각 하나만큼
피는 확실히 빼는 편이지.
적들이 저녁만 찬 냄새를 맡아버린 손님들처럼 빗질거리고 있네. 한 접시 근사하게 먹여줄까?
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛,
개체들의 체력이 많이 깎여 나갔어. 괴로워하는 게 느껴지지
피는
않아?
확실히
이
빼는
기세로
편이지.
계속 나아가보자.
이제 쓸만해졌고.
아까 방망 먹고 일주일
무슨 맛일까?
돌심형이?
이제 쓸만해졌고.
We take the Sharp Needle and Thread and the Grimy Iron Stake for our reward before heading into the Unconfronting for the next floor. Here we buy Respite, Emerald Elytra, and an extra CO3, while also fusing Sundered Memory before making it to the boss against Cromer. Cromer is honestly one of the easiest bosses in the whole game simply because she's a very scripted fight. You're forced to corrode by turn 3, otherwise she puts you in a permanent stagger lock, and as long as you corrode into a strong enough ego, it should be enough to knock her into her second phase instantly. Her second phase is substantially easier than her first because it doesn't have any weird gimmicks and we can easily slice her up in no time.
요즘
무슨 맛일까? 이 파도 속에서 움직일 수 있는 오직 나. 깨어져라. 들이쉬, 들이쉬. 이 고통이 사라지지 않아.
야호. 이기는 편, 우리 편.
들이쉬, 들이쉬. 이 고통이 사라지지 않아.
칼날이 잘 드네요. 아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠?
들이쉬, 들이쉬. 이 고통이 사라지지 않아.
방금 공격은 좋았어.
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛, 취.
완벽한 한방. 시원한 걸.
피는 확실히 빼는 편이 좋지. 피는 확실히 빼는 편이 좋지.
지금이야말로 꿈밤을 보여줄
무슨
시간이네.
맛일까?
지난번처럼
너,
제대로 잠들지 못하게 하면 안 돼.
취.
숙면을 취할 수 있게 해주자고.
전투 감각 하나만큼은 수감자가 되어도
너 이제 쓸만해졌고.
이제 그 도통 알아들을 수 없는 말투만 고치면 딱 좋겠어. 4번 수감자.
We take Squalidity and the Rusted Cutting Knife for a reward before heading into Refraction Railway Line 2 for the next floor. Here we find Special Contract before making it to the boss against the Sign of Roses. This fight's main gimmick revolves around spawning a rose depending on the skill sin type you have the most of, which then constantly drains your health until you destroy it or you die. And with the exception of the Wrath Rose, all of them are incredibly easy to deal with. And wouldn't you know it, we're using an identity whose most common sin type happens to be Wrath. This fight is actually difficult for once. The reason the Wrath Rose is such a problem is because it is the only rose that when you kill it, it deals damage back to you equal to the amount it took. So unless you're beating it with a very weak attack, it's pretty much guaranteed to stagger you whenever you kill it. The main problem this time is that we don't have a weak attack. Every one of our skills is capable of killing it, meaning we always trigger the reflect damage. Or at least that would be the case if not for two specific ego gifts that otherwise would not be worth mentioning. Both the Standard Duty Battery and Midwinter Nightmare inflict rupture and sinking whenever you attack. This is important because the reflect damage from the rose specifically says it only triggers when it's defeated by direct damage, meaning any indirect damage, aka status effects, do not trigger the reflect damage. Fortunately for us, if we end up critting with our skill 2, we do just enough damage for the status damage to kill the rose instead of us, and we can avoid the reflect damage entirely. The rest of the fight isn't anything to write home about, it's mostly just bleed doing bleed things.
너, 맛, 취, 취. 너, 맛, 취, 취.
그래, 그렇게 시원하게 처리하니 보는 맛이
무슨
나는
맛일까?
일 처리는 빠르게 하는
너,
편이 덜
맛,
답답한 법이지.
취.
적들이 저녁 만찬 냄새를 맡아버린 손님들처럼 비틀거리고 있네.
We take the Decamillennial Stew Pot and Bridle for a reward, while also receiving Ruptured Bloodsack as a bonus before heading into the Evil Defining for the next floor. Here we buy Clear Miracom Water, Cigarette Holder, and Devil Share, while also fusing the Red Stain Gossipium and the Dueling Manual Book 3 before making it to the boss against Ahab.
때가 왔다, 선원들이여. 자, 너를 깎아내라.
Getting Clear Mirror this early basically means that this fight is an instant win. Gas Harpoon Ahab just isn't a difficult fight if you have an absurd amount of damage. Pretty much the only thing that could even pose a threat is her phase 1 stagger skill, which isn't even really threatening as she can't follow up with much damage, or her counter in her 3rd phase, which also isn't really threatening if your DPS is ridiculously high, as she can only get maybe 2 of them off before you can stagger her. It's just a super easy fight, what else can I really say?
승객이 딱콩 한 방 먹였어.
무슨 맛일까?
전투 감각 하나만큼 수강자가 되어도 훌륭해. 이제 그 도통 알아들을 수 없는 말투만 고치면 딱 좋겠어.
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛,
너무 세게 맞은 건 아닙니까?
너, 맛,
적들이 저녁만 찬 냄새를 맡아버린 손님들처럼 비틀거리고 있네. 한 접시 근사하게 먹여줄까? 땅이 떨리고 있어.
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛,
그래, 딱 반쯤 죽여버려.
너,
13조
마.
2항에 맞추려면 그게 체격이지.
방금 어떻게 하신 거죠? 깜짝 놀랐어요.
We take the Lightning Rod and the Hag's Leg for our reward before heading into Unrelenting Might for the next floor. Here we fuse Lunar Memory before making it to the most annoying boss in the entire game, Farm Watch. The reason this fight is so annoying is because in order to beat it solo, you are forced to dodge every attack or else you instantly lose the fight due to its gimmick. With there being upwards of 20 attacks coming at you every turn, the odds of one of your evades rolling a random 5% is pretty much a foregone conclusion, and as such the best strategy is to use 2 evades every turn, so if one fails the other can pick up the slack. Other than that, this fight is pretty easy and doesn't really have much else interesting to talk about it. With that said though, I want to take a moment to just complain about this fight's absolutely terrible phase transition. You see, Dongrang enters his 2nd phase once he reaches 50% health, and once he reaches that threshold he takes 0 damage until he actually enters his 2nd phase. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but for whatever reason it seems like whenever I do this fight I always end a turn with him at like 1 HP above that threshold, and so I have to sit there and waste an entire turn dodging everything again just because, I don't know, I missed a random coin roll at some point or something. It really sucks because there's already a perfect solution to this problem in the Time Ripper's fight, where once he reaches the HP threshold, the turn just ends and he immediately enters his 2nd phase. But of course Project Moon has the design philosophy of refusing to go back and change things for the better after they've been released for over a week. Not just for identities, but for literally anything, and the more I think about it, the more it's starting to piss me off, so I'm just gonna stop talking.
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛,
칼날이 잘 드네요. 아마 그 공격이 약점이었겠죠?
뭐야?
무슨 맛일까? 맛일까? 너, 맛,
깨달음을 얻으셨군요.
너,
모자를
맛.
쓰고 있는 혈기에겐
이제.
방망이듯이 풍선 칼이 방금 공격은 좋았어. 이대로만 계속해보면 좋을 텐데.
We take the Prestige card in Sunshower for our reward before heading into Sunk Gloom for the next floor. Here we don't find anything of note before making it to the boss against not Heathcliffe and friends. Yeah, this fight isn't difficult at all. We've maxed out our damage incredibly early, and so these middle floors are a complete pushover. With the exception of the first phase, because we don't have many skill slots, we can completely ignore the entire gimmick of this fight and win solely by attacking into Heathcliff.
오, 기운이 솟는다, 단테. 가서 빨리 때려눕히자고.
무슨 맛일까? 피는 확실히 빼는 편이 좋지. 너, 맛, 이제
전투 감각 하나만큼
무슨 맛일까?
수감자가 되어도 훌륭하게
너.
하군.
맛,
이제 그 도통 알아들을 수 없는 말투만
방금
고치면
공격은 좋았어.
딱 좋겠어.
이대로만
너.
계속해보면 좋을
맛.
텐데.
이런 건 몽둥이가 약이지.
너.
두드려 패.
맛,
좋아. 이번에는 제대로 들어간다.
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛, 이제
교단의 전투 경험이 쓸모가 없진 않았군요, 단테.
We take the single rarest ego gift in the entire game and Thunder Branch for our reward before heading into Yield My Flesh for the next floor. Here we find the rusted hilt and buy the fractured blade, and Phantom Pain before making it to the boss against Bamboo-Hatted Kim. This fight isn't any harder than the last one for many of the previously mentioned reasons. In fact, the most notable thing about this fight is that it's the point where I finally noticed I wasn't using the Pierre and Jack announcer, and as compensation decided to put them and only them on the mic for the remainder of the run.
잭, 칼은 다 갈아놨지?
준비 완료.
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛,
잘 썰렸다.
깔끔한 절단력인걸? 와, 저기 봐. 재료들이 걸어다니고 있네.
쟤들이 다 해치우면 편하게 들고 올 수 있겠어.
무슨 맛일까?
살 내어주지만.
너, 맛,
살코기 바를 땐 칼을, 뼈를 자를 땐 톱이지.
동감이야.
잭, 칼은 다 갈아놨지?
무슨 맛일까?
준비
너,
완료.
맛, 너, 맛, 너, 맛, 너, 맛,
재료들이 기분이 좋나 본데?
무슨 맛일까?
약품 처리가 돼.
너, 맛, 이제 쓸만해졌고.
We take a duplicate and smokes and wires for our reward before heading to Tangling Lust for the next floor. Here we buy Finifugality and fuse the guiding gas lamp before making it to the boss against the Barber. This fight was incredibly frustrating, not because of anything in particular with the Barber, but more so because of everything that led up to her. Ego spamming is a very normal thing to do in order to beat regular encounters, and as such we enter this fight with less than max sanity. The Barber is a fight where you pretty much need to dodge everything, as even if she doesn't manage to kill you with raw damage, the sheer amount of bleed she inflicts is more than capable of finishing you off. On top of this, without the clear mirror offense level, we cannot reliably win a clash with her. This makes both turn 1 and 2 absurdly RNG dependent, as we have not a 5% chance to instantly lose, but a 16% chance. We have to win a clash to get the offense level from clear mirror 2, but egos are our only way to guarantee that, without making our odds of success significantly worse. Put simply, this fight isn't difficult. It's a test of patience and whether or not you're willing to reset dozens of times in order to finally achieve perfect odds.
동감이야, 피해.
너, 맛, 취.
뭐야? 뭔가 아래손을
무슨
줄이려나
맛일까?
본데?
이럴 땐
너,
몸을 좀
맛.
숨겨야 돼.
취. 너, 맛, 취.
와, 저기 봐. 재료들이
무슨
걸어다니고 있네.
맛일까?
쟤들이 다 해치우면 편하게 들고 수 있겠어.
We take the Keen Branch and Rusted Cutting Knife again for our reward, while also receiving Imposed Weight as a bonus, before heading into Season of the Flame for the final floor. Here we buy the Little and Tubby Naughty plushie and Resolution before making it to the final boss against the Skin Prophet. Yeah, this fight is completely free. Not only do we get 3 free turns to build skill slots, but even if our clash power isn't good enough, we can attack one of the candles just before we have to clash to get the offense level from Clear Mirror. It's a stupidly easy boss, I can't really say anything else about it.
잭, 칼은 다 갈아놨지?
준비 완료.
무슨 맛일까?
너무 과했는데.
맞아. 살살해. 그러다 뼈라도 부서지면 파이 속에서 뼈가 씹힐 거라고.
무슨 맛일까? 너, 맛, 취.
잘 썰렸다.
깔끔한 절단력인걸?
너, 맛, 취.
살코기 바를 땐 칼은, 뼈를 자를 땐 톱이지.
동감이야.
너, 맛, 취. 이제
와, 신선한 부위 하나가 똑 떨어져 나왔네.
이 정도면 조기 소진 걱정은 안 해도 되겠는걸.
And that's how I beat 10 floors of Mirror Dungeon 5 Hard using only Chef Ryoshu. While she really isn't anything special when it comes to playing the game normally, she has firmly cemented herself as one of the best supports when it comes to soloing. There's a reason why in every single one of my solo end screens she's always there. The healing she provides is simply too good to pass up when you're only using one character. Anyway, that's it from me. Like and subscribe to not miss next time where we'll be using this character. Goodbye.